While I'm here, I'm going to do a direct message to Jane Faye. John, I have been reading your rape apologism for several years now. First of all, you need some clarity on UK law, Jane. When you're twice my size and writing rape apologism and you spend so much time obsessing about how women's consent and sexual my risk assessment is not impacted by your identity at all. You're a risk to women because you spend a great deal of your time writing about how the sexual boundaries need to be overcome because apparently your identity requires it. No person's identity requires that, Jane, and there's no basis in law for it. Regarding ROGD, rapid onset gender dysphoria, and social contagion being bunkum, you might want to learn about child development, sweetheart. The idea that trans is magically different to every other identity issue in young people and adolescents, and suddenly we're to ignore contagion and we are to ignore symptoms that suggest a very high likelihood of sexual abuse. By the way, you want them ripped out of safeguarding? No. And we're to ignore all the other issues and we're to ignore social contagion? No. This is largely a tension between elite academic disciplines who are not aware of the development of the rule of law and our understanding of power dynamics and abuse. Jane, for a legal scholar, yeah, we'll call it that, shall we? You don't appear to know that you live in a country with safeguarding systems, with existing understanding of domestic abuse, of abusive dynamics, and that probably explains why you keep displaying so many of them. So I'm going to explain to you, Jane. Trans rights activists have lost in the UK, and what you have directly done is jeopardise trans rights for a generation or more. And most of the trans women I know, they don't do what you do and spend their time writing rape apologism. And they don't campaign for the end of safeguarding, and they don't campaign for the end of women's rights because they're not abusive male misogynists. You were elevated because newspapers needed to triangulate on a stereo rolling women back. Nobody was ever looking at the Cosmo pages of the misogynist press for feminism, and feminism didn't actually ever get you what you think you have a right to. About the word TERF, John. Your belief that you have a right to be in the thoughts that women think about inequality and power they don't have marks you out as an abusive male. Nobody ever gave a toss about anybody's gender expression, really. It was complete self-ID was the norm, but because of the actions of you and your friends, trans rights are up in the air for possibly a generation and globally. I would suggest you stop. Just stop. I would suggest you stop demanding that we ignore sexual abuse symptoms in children and stop demanding we affirm them as natural identity. I would suggest you stop demanding that we ignore what we know about child development, and you stop demanding that we pathologise childhood to make your pathology and your disorder feel normal. I would suggest you stop writing rape apologism, and I would suggest you stop trying to place your identity against the existence of women's rights and safeguarding systems, because those rights and systems will win. I'm really sorry, if you want women not to treat you as a male who pose risk, you're going to need to stop writing rape apologism and stop demanding that safeguarding be liquidated and stop demanding that women's rights be undermined. Because when you're doing those things, we don't have to worry about your identity. The law's fairly clear. You've been a legal scholar, you should know that.